All right, welcome everyone to today's Ninja Skill Booster. My name is Matt, Ninja Matt. Today is all about energized teams. How do we build engagement? How do we build energy, performance? We've got an interesting twist on this. Just right up the front here, we can make a difference. Sometimes these big topics can feel a little bit overwhelming, a little bit hard to grasp, but just know that we can make a difference. This is a really key thing I just want to share right up front here today. Lovely to see all the comments coming in on the chat too. Thank you. Hi, Tim. Good to see you. So for those of you that haven't met me before, my name is Matt Cowdroy. I'm the founder of Think Productive Australia. We're part of a global business called Think Productive. And what we are all about is creating a work revolution where everyone loves Mondays. This is what gets me out of bed in the morning. This is what keeps us going here at Think Productive, the fact that we can make a difference at work. We can help you and your teams love Mondays, improve engagement, improve energy. So today, we're here in a webinar format, rules of the road. Please use the chat. You're very welcome to use the chat to connect, to ask questions, make comments. It's a nice way to see all the different views, opinions, thoughts we've got in the group. I will be asking some specific questions for you to be sharing in the chat. We're here for half an hour. Well, we're here till about 9:30, and I've got lots of content today. So grab a pen and paper. This is being recorded, so I'll share the recording, but grab a pen and paper, take some notes. There is so much great content today. I love these two workshops of ours, Thriving Teams and Cracking the Engagement Puzzle. Today, we're taking content from both of these workshops to share in this, more broad concept of just energizing our teams, increasing engagement. Let me have a look at some of these comments. All right, we're back. Purpose, learning, making an impact, seeing good work, people, engaging with enthusiastic people, development, relevance, purpose, serving the nation, great colleagues. These are all these great things that we can all tap into here to think, oh, I want more of that in my work. Happiness and joy, delivering great products, a great team. Oh, look at all these comments. You've all just answered the question. So thank you. That's your personal view on what motivates you. So now we need to broaden this to think, how do we do this for our teams? How do we do this for our people? But before we get there, let's look at where we're at. So drawing on some data from Gallup, who do the wonderful Gallup engagement, workplace engagement study every year. In 2025, globally, engagement fell again. This is a worry, right? But why does engagement matter? Why do we even talk about engagement? So there's a lot of benefits if we can help our teams be more engaged. Instant results that are so hard to achieve in other ways. So if we can focus on engagement, look at these results, like really wonderful what we can achieve here. But look at the data. Globally, we've gone from a high of 23% engaged. We're back down to 20 globally. Now, if we look at the Australia data here, I'll just point to this chart down here. You can see we're at 21% in Australia. Australia/New Zealand, I think it is 21%. We've come down slightly from last year, slightly better than globally, but pretty much on ballpark with global. Now, what's the biggest cause of this, according to Gallup, is this drop in manager engagement. So we can see manager engagement's gone from 31% back in 2022 down to 22% now. Gallup call this the shrinking perks of being a manager. Managers are being pushed from all sides, so we need to be supporting our managers. And looking at this data in a more sort of graphical way, 20% engagement. That's 1/5 of the workforce. That's not many people who are actually engaged. Then 2/3 are not engaged. And 16% disengaged, actively disengaged, which means they're basically looking for another job. That's globally. And as I said, in Australia slash New Zealand, we're very similar. 21% versus 20, 66 versus 64, and 13. So slightly better. Actively disengaged, 13%. Pretty much ballpark though. Not great results, hey, with all the effort that goes into this. So we need to start looking at what can we do to help with this. So let me ask you a question. What percentage of happiness do you think is explained by pay? Another way to put this is how important is salary or pay, do you think? What percentage of happiness is affected by how much people get paid? I'd love you to put that in the chat. There's no right or wrong here. Well, there is research that gives us an answer. Let's just see what you've got. Yeah, okay. Figures range from 25% to 80%, lower than we think. Yes, lower than we think. Nicole says 10. Actually, 5%. 5% of happiness is explained by pay. Isn't that interesting? So there's so much more we can focus on. 11% is based on purpose. 12% is based on belonging, feeling part of a team, feeling part of the company. And 17% based on the energy, feeling energized by work tasks. So how do we bring this energy? That's why today matters so much. How do we create more energy in the teams? Putting those three together, energy, belonging, and purpose, 8 times more influence on happiness than pay. Wow. Interesting to reflect on that. So as I say, take some notes today. You might be very focused on your pay plan at work and how do we motivate our people through small pay rises and bonuses and things like this. But there is so much more we can think about. And even personally, to motivate ourselves, we may not be able to have much influence on our pay, but we can go seeking out these other things, which are going to be so much more impactful for our own happiness. As I say, it's always been a question of mine. How can I motivate myself at work? For me, in the work I do now at Think Productive, I'm fully motivated by our purpose. I feel like I belong and I bring my own energy. So yeah, I've got that formula happening here. Thankfully um, now I know this. Now we all know this. We know where to turn. We know how to improve this. So why don't we focus on engagement? Why don't leaders focus on engagement? Really? We talk about it, but why don't we do it? We're too busy. Confusion about what people want. Okay, well, I've just given you some of the answers. You know, we don't have honest conversations about it. We don't really dig in. The honest conversations are poor, and it does feel a bit like a mystery. So today we're going to think about this a bit more. You can't pay someone into engagement. Pay is only 5%. So we can't do this. You can't logic someone into engagement. You can't just talk them into it. You can't just convince them that it's a good idea, right? It's a personal process, and most leaders are not trained on this personal, emotional process, this personal connection with teams. So we've solved this mystery. That's why we've got these 2 workshops, thriving teams and cracking the engagement puzzle. So the number one leadership question: how can I positively influence a person's emotional experience? How do we give them that belonging, that purpose, that energy? How can we help with this as a leader? So we've identified 7 human needs. This comes from cracking the engagement puzzle. 7 human needs that are going to help with this emotional support, this emotional grounding. Number 1 is safety. Number 2 is play. This is how we bring the energy, bring the excitement to work. Number 3, power, providing that feeling of influence, power, belonging, self-expression. Do I feel free to express myself? Inspiration and purpose. Now, you might link some of these to other models of belonging, the chakras, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's many different models we can kind of link this to, but we've identified them and named them very carefully as these 7 categories or these 7 human needs. If I was to ask you here, just an off the cuff question, which one of these do you feel you most have at work at the moment? Which one of these needs is most highly fulfilled for you at the moment? I'd love to just see what we've got here. Belonging, purpose, belonging. Wow. Okay. You've got very strong belonging and purpose coming up there. Okay. Inspiration and play, self-expression, belonging and purpose, definitely the top two. All right. Now let's flip this around. Oh, I want more play. Thank you, Jane. So we're gonna, at that point, let's flip this around. Which one of these would you like now to most improve? Just let me put improve in the chat and then we'll see what comes after this. All right. Power, inspiration, play, belonging, inspiration, belonging, play. A lot of people saying play. Yeah, we definitely can bring more play into work. Play helps offset the fear. All right, thank you. So let's look at some tools for this. The first thing is identifying it. If we've got fear, if we're not feeling that safety, that number one need, this Ninja Grace is one of our beautiful facilitators in the UK, and Grace talks about high functioning fear. The way we can identify this as a leader is people might be in these different modes of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which are normal reactions if we don't have the safety. But it might look high functioning. It can be hard to spot. So fight might look like people are just working harder. They're pushing on through. They're not going to actually fight at work. They might fix, they might rescue. Flight might be avoidance, procrastination, disengagement, or they might just have their head down, pretending they're not there, right? Might even look like they're working, but internally they're flighting or running away from what really matters. Freeze might look like nothing's happening, might look like busyness. I'm so busy, I can't deal with any of this, but they might not really be busy. But it might look like busyness, or it might be explained away as busyness. Fawning, we're being accommodating, we're being kind, we're being nice, fake yeses. So that can also look helpful in the workplace if people are saying, yes, can I help you? Yes, I can do that, but they don't do it. But on the inside, it can be fear. So the reason for talking about this is to think about that number one need of safety and the fact that it might be hard to spot when people are feeling unsafe because it can be hidden. Now, here's a beautiful quote from Brene Brown that links to this. I'll just let you have a read. So what this is getting at is that leaders need to spend time, invest time understanding their people. Otherwise, it's going to be more of a performance management situation. We need to invest this time up front. There's a good question, great question there. Thanks, Elizabeth. What makes people feel unsafe at work? Yeah, a lack of trust is a big one. We're going to talk about trust at the end. Feeling unseen, feeling unnoticed. All of these, a great question there. People not being transparent. Yeah, this is going to lead us into the trust conversation. Feel free to put any other comments in the chat there if you like, which I just won't read at the moment. But in our workplace, when we think about how do we build this energy, how do we build this engagement, it's good to know where we're at in our company and in our teams. We've identified three different states of foundation, if you like, or three different landscapes that a business or a team can be in. And depending on where you're at, the needs are different. If your business is on solid ground or your team is on solid ground, things are quite predictable. People just need to know, I belong. They know what's expected of them. It's quite straightforward on solid ground. Safety comes from certainty. People know what's going on. But rocky ground is when things get a little bit more unclear. There's mistakes starting to happen. How do we thrive when this is happening? We need to develop safety. Really need to focus with the team, acknowledging we're on rocky ground. It's okay. It's not like the team's on rocky ground in terms of relationships, but the work we're doing, there might be a bit of uncertainty. So staying tight, staying connected. Uncharted waters might be like a startup or a tech company or a research related business where we don't quite know where we're headed or what we're going to find out. Everything's in flux. There's no ground, there's no safety here. So the safety has to come from a shared vision, shared values, a shared direction, shared purpose. So once we know as the leader where our team is at in terms of the foundations of the work we're doing, the amount of clarity that's there, we can start to identify how to support everyone. Even just acknowledging where we're at on this journey, these three different landscapes can be a nice team and individual bonding, belonging experience because we're belonging in this area. When things are uncharted, people can really come together. In a crisis, people can really come together. But firstly, acknowledging it is often the key. What we want to bring into our businesses, into our life and our work as individuals and as teams is curiosity. I do love these two images. The fear is I'm hiding. I don't want to look at this. But the curiosity is, yeah, what can we learn here? How can we get through this? How can we grow here? So in Grace's book, Grace, our beautiful trainer from the UK, Struggle, Grace talks about this high functioning fear and the difference between fear and curiosity. Fear says, don't go there. Curiosity says, yeah, okay, let's take a look. Even if you feel into that at the moment, you might feel more energy come from, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this thing we've been worried about. So, do you have a fear? I'd love just a little bit of accountability or transparency, if you like. Do you have a fear at the moment in your work that you'd be willing to put in the chat? I'll read them out, but I won't read the names, and the recording doesn't record the names or the chat. So, do you have a fear at the moment? What might you be scared of in work at the moment or in your team? Making a mistake, yeah, it's a big one. Are there any general trends or changes in the market or our world of work that you're feeling worried about? Another comment on mistakes being controlled and commanded. There's the one I knew would pop up. AI. AI is causing a lot of fear. Changing systems. How is that change management happening? Too many priorities. That's a big one. Causes stress. Losing my job, given that the market is hard. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that can be fear. We can be scared of. So bring in that curiosity. Definitely workloads. Okay. Bring in that curiosity. Government funding. Fear of being my biggest self. Yeah, sometimes we're scared of success. Job security. So firstly, I want to acknowledge you all. Thank you for sharing that. There are some big fears there. There are some big fears there. So take a moment to think, how can I turn this fear, instead of it helping me, causing me to be stuck, how can I turn this fear into curiosity? How can I satisfy that need for safety? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, everyone. There's what's coming up for me at the moment that I want to say is one step at a time, one step forward at a time. The other thing I just coming up for me a little bit off topic is I love the power of setting intentions. I know a lot of you come to these Ninja Skill Boosters for a bit of motivation, bit of inspiration. One of the things that really helps me through a day or a week or a month is setting a really clear intention. How do I want to show up today? How am I going to show up for this day, this meeting, this event? So that idea of setting an intention. Now, here's a tool that we can use. I'll send you this. The next slide has a lot of words on here. But one of the key things in reducing fear is how can we reduce fear in meetings? People are often scared to speak up, not wanting to stick their neck out. So in our Cracking the Engagement Puzzle workshop, we have a lot of activities that we play with in the workshop. This is just one of them. And I will read through this one by one. So this tool for improving meetings, improving engagement in meetings, is to have a timed round. Now, step by step, I'm going to walk you through this. In a meeting, choose the topic or conversation, and then the chairperson explains, let's do a timed round here. And the way this works is the chairperson or facilitator sets the order of each person speaking. We might just be going around the table, or if we're in a Teams meeting, put the names in the chat. And we say, let's do a timed round. Everyone gets 30 seconds, 60 seconds to speak on this particular topic. We're going to go around the room. Everyone gets time to speak. Now, you can pass because it's all about creating safety. People might want to just say, I pass. Okay. But that's okay. And the group conducts the conversation. Everyone speaks in turn. Everyone has a chance to be heard. Everyone's opinions, voices get heard, get voiced. When a person runs out of time, they can finish their sentence, you move on to the next person. But to make it really safe, if they don't use their whole time, they'd still get their whole time if they want it. They can just be quiet. And sometimes for people, it takes a bit more time for the thoughts to come up, or they might speak more slowly, often at risk of people jumping in and taking over. And the final comment, as I said, everyone can pass. If they want to pass, they can pass because we've got to make this safe. But even just creating this safety in a meeting, reducing the fear by when am I going to speak? Who's going to speak over the top of me? How do I get my voice heard? Creating structure, creating clarity. Brene Brown says clarity is kindness. So creating this clarity, even in a simple thing like a team meeting, can really help. So that's just one small activity from the Cracking the Engagement Puzzle workshop that helps to start getting people more engaged, more energized, a chance to speak. Now, for the leaders need to keep setting the direction. If there is uncertainty, set the vision. Keep that vision alive. Keep that compass on the vision. We might need to take a few little turns on the way, but the leaders keep that purpose, keep that vision strong. That gives the team that sense of belonging. Now, there was a comment about trust earlier. Building trust has such a strong impact. There's one of the key ones there, energy and engagement, right? Building trust by allowing people to speak, admitting our mistakes, being vulnerable. This has such a massive sense of impact on engagement. Lovely comment here as well. Thank you. Suggest adding rules or understandings about listening with respect. Absolutely. Ensuring those not speaking are respectful by defining it. Yeah, thanks, Donna. Creating absolute clarity in that meeting scenario can help. So we want to build trust. Here are some ways we recommend bringing in some trust, some language that we can use in our teams. Stinky fish. A stinky fish is something that's been on my mind that I want to share, that I'm worried about sharing. The elephant in the room. Anyone want to talk about the elephant in the room? Explaining that I might be feeling a bit bare at the moment. I'm a bit rageful. So give me a moment to calm and then I'll share my view. Just saying I'm feeling like a bear at the moment. Or I'm going to stick my neck out now. I'm going to do the giraffe thing in this meeting. Just having some language in our teams can help people interact more, connect more. Now we talk about 4 key things for a thriving team: clarity, resilience, trust, and growth. We go through those in detail in the Thriving Teams workshop. Oh, that was a lot of content for today. I wanted to not go over time if possible. I know some of you may have to leave. We've only scratched the surface. I hope you've managed to take some notes from today. I'm going to share this recording with you all. These 2 workshops are the key sources of truth for a lot of this content. I'd love you to just pop in the chat as well as all the beautiful thank yous that are starting to come through. What is a light bulb moment for you today? Or what's an action for you today? And stay on the line if you can, because I do have a giveaway at the end, as always. Love my energy, Simon. Thank you. Well, I love the energy of all you being here. What is your light bulb moment for today? Reflecting on fearing the team, how to rebuild after a redundancy, trust. Love starting my day with these workshops. Great. We should do these every day. That'll improve engagement. Being reminded that what I choose and do does matter. Fear. Love the awkward conversation language. Yeah, the stinky fish, the bear, the giraffe. Self-expression. Be more curious. Time sessions in meetings. I'm glad you like that. Thank you, everyone. Beautiful. Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you all coming along today. Remember, we can make a difference.